In the shimmering world of fame, where lights never dim and stories are always unfolding, we begin with the voice of Cardi B, whose journey from the Bronx to global stages feels like a movie that never stops giving inspiration, because her rise was never about perfection, but about persistence and charm, and the way she speaks with authenticity connects to millions of people who see in her the reflection of resilience. And now, after being found not liable in a civil suit, she steps once again into the spotlight, not just as an artist, but as a symbol of strength and determination, reminding everyone that setbacks are part of the climb. And the climb itself is worth celebrating, because the view from the top is not just glitter, it is proof of what courage can achieve. And while Cardi embraces her fans with laughter, with honesty, and with the vibrant fashion that she rocks at every award show, we look across the landscape of celebrities who each carry their own epic stories of rising, falling and rising again, like chapters in a never-ending saga of human spirit, where talent and dreams dance together. And if Cardi brings that mix of hip-hop fire and unapologetic style, then someone like Beyoncé adds a regal touch of discipline and artistry, building an empire that stretches far beyond music into fashion, philanthropy, and inspiration, where young girls and boys see not just a performer, but a queen, who taught us that commanding a stage is about commanding your destiny too. And as Beyoncé creates scholarship programs, supports disaster relief, and uplifts Black-owned businesses, we realize that her stage is not confined to concerts. It is the world itself. And in the same world, we find artists like Rihanna, who turned her voice into a movement, then her creativity into a fashion powerhouse, and her compassion into charity with the Clara Lionel Foundation. And she showed that a superstar can become a mogul, redefining beauty standards with Fenty, and creating space where inclusion is not a slogan, but a practice. And the joy of seeing Rihanna at the Super Bowl halftime show was not just about nostalgia, but about recognizing that she is one of those rare figures who move with confidence into every field, while never losing the sparkle that first captured our hearts. And speaking of sparkle, we remember Jennifer Lopez, whose story began with dance auditions and dreams in the Bronx, just like Cardi, and grew into an empire of music, film, television, and fashion, where every red carpet is another reminder that perseverance polishes talent into greatness. And J.Lo has never stopped showing that age is only a number when passion keeps burning. Because her performances from the Hustlers movie to the Super Bowl stage prove that dedication never fades. And when she launches charitable projects or supports young talent, she becomes that reminder that lifting others is part of staying truly iconic. And as we move from one star to another, the flow feels endless, like a constellation where every celebrity lights up their corner of the sky, and together they make this world of fame glow with possibility. And then there is Taylor Swift, who taught us that storytelling in music can build bridges between hearts. And her fearless journey from a teenage country singer strumming guitars to a global superstar reclaiming her art through re-recordings is nothing short of inspiring, because it shows that even in the face of industry challenges, an artist can take back her narrative and lead millions of fans through music that feels like shared memories. And her generosity in supporting education, disaster relief, and LGBTQ rights makes her not just a singer, but a force of kindness. And it is no surprise that Swifties see her not as distant, but as a friend who puts their emotions into melody. And while Taylor keeps evolving with every era, we glance at Lady Gaga, whose creative universe spins between music, fashion, film, and activism with fearless energy, from meat dresses that sparked conversation to Oscar-winning performances in A Star is Born and beyond. Gaga has shown us that authenticity sometimes looks bold, sometimes looks vulnerable, but always looks powerful, and her Born This Way Foundation continues to create safe spaces for young people to thrive and believe in themselves, reminding us that the spotlight can be used to shine on causes that matter. And just as Gaga redefines pop, Madonna remains the eternal icon who paved paths decades before with courage, reinvention, and artistic risk, inspiring countless artists to follow. And still today, she brings stages alive, proving that legends never retire, they evolve. And while music paints so much of this world, we also see actors shaping it, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose journey from football to wrestling to Hollywood superstar feels like a saga of discipline, humor, and hard work. And his energy in films, his kindness with fans, and his charitable work especially for children show that strength is not just physical, it is character. And then we have Keanu Reeves, who has become almost mythical, not just for The Matrix or John Wick, but for the humility that shines in every fan story, where he takes time to greet people, give up seats on the subway, or quietly donate to hospitals and research projects, proving that kindness is the most lasting legacy. And while Hollywood dazzles with legends, the world stage gives us Priyanka Chopra Jonas, who moved from winning Miss World to conquering Bollywood, then crossing over to Hollywood, building a career that bridges cultures and inspires girls in India and beyond, to dream globally while also supporting education and health initiatives through her foundation. And as we keep moving across the globe, we meet BTS, the South Korean phenomenon, whose music, dance, and authenticity created a tidal wave that touched fans everywhere, showing that music truly knows no borders. And their Love Myself campaign with UNICEF brought mental health and self-love to the forefront, proving that even pop idols with massive fame can use their voices to heal hearts. And if BTS showed the collective power of teamwork, then artists like Shakira embody the rhythm of resilience, bringing Latin music to global stages with hips that told stories and songs that united cultures, while her Barefoot Foundation built schools for children in Colombia, reminding us that even superstars remember their roots and honor them through giving. And from Shakira, we float to Selena Gomez, who despite health challenges built a career in music, acting, and business, while also becoming a strong advocate for mental health, launching Rare Impact Fund to expand resources for young people. Because she knows firsthand that fame cannot shield from struggle, but it can create platforms to help others. And Selena's honesty resonates with fans who see in her journey the courage to be real. And when we step into the world of sports, we cannot forget Serena Williams, whose dominance on tennis courts and grace off them created a legacy that transcends athletics, and her support for women in business, fashion, and motherhood empowerment turns her into a role model for resilience and innovation. And next to her stands LeBron James, not just a basketball king, but a philanthropist whose I Promise school in Akron, Ohio, shows that giving back to the community is the truest championship, and his influence stretches from courtside victories to cultural leadership and advocacy for social justice. And the narrative continues with Oprah Winfrey, who became the voice of compassion and empowerment, rising from humble beginnings to build a media empire that uplifted millions, while her schools in South Africa and endless charitable efforts make her not just a storyteller but a guardian of dreams. And when we think of Oprah, we are reminded that success is sweetest when shared, and the list of shining stars goes on with Zendaya, whose acting, fashion, and authenticity make her one of the most beloved young icons today, as she uses her voice for representation and inclusion, showing that the next generation of celebrities carries the torch of responsibility with elegance and joy. And just when we think we have reached the limits of inspiration, we turn to figures like Malala Yousafzai, who, though not an entertainer, stands in the global spotlight as a Nobel Prize winner, using her voice for education and equality, proving that celebrity in its purest form is influence for good and blending her story into this universe of fame. We realize that the thread connecting Cardi B, Beyoncé, Rihanna, J-Lo, Taylor Gaga, Madonna, The Rock, Keanu, Priyanka, BTS, Shakira, Selena, Serena, LeBron, Oprah, Zendaya, and Malala is not just talent, but the heart that fuels the journey, because fame without heart is hollow. But fame with heart becomes legacy. And as our journey through this first chapter closes, we see clearly that this world of celebrities is not just about red carpets and flashing cameras. It is about humanity shining in extraordinary ways and about ordinary beginnings turning into extraordinary triumphs through resilience, creativity, and love. And so the story continues with countless more voices waiting to be celebrated in the constellation of stars that guide and entertain and inspire us all. As the story of celebrities unfolds like an endless melody, we glide smoothly from the triumphs of legends to the vibrant rise of newer voices, and it becomes clear that every generation adds new colors to the grand canvas of fame, and one of the brightest colors belongs to Billie Eilish, who emerged from her bedroom studio with songs that carried whispers and beats turning into global anthems. And her rise alongside her brother Phineas shows that creativity knows no boundaries, and that vulnerability itself can be a superpower, because her honesty about mental health, her unique fashion statements, and her ability to connect with fans on a human level turned her into more than just a pop star. She became a movement for individuality and acceptance. And in the same breath, we think of Ariana Grande, whose voice soars across ranges that seem almost impossible. And yet her journey is not just about vocal power, but about resilience, from overcoming personal tragedies to standing strong with her fans. After heartbreaking events, Ariana showed that love can be louder than fear, and her One Love Manchester concert remains one of the most powerful examples of music healing a wounded world. And when we look at Ariana, we also See the playful yet powerful balance between being a global icon and a person who loves her fans dearly, reminding us that intimacy and stardom can coexist beautifully. And then our gaze shifts to Harry Styles, who evolved from being part of one direction into a solo artist, redefining masculinity, fashion, and artistry with every step, and his ability to challenge stereotypes through music and gender-fluid fashion while still maintaining a joyful connection with fans shows that true leadership in the entertainment world often means daring to be different and embracing authenticity. And speaking of authenticity, we cannot overlook Ed Sheeran, whose red hair and guitar once made him an underdog, but whose melodies became wedding songs, road trip anthems, and timeless classics for millions around the globe. And Ed's humble presence, his busking roots, and his continued love for creating music with honesty make him proof that fame does not require abandoning simplicity. And his charity work supporting children's hospitals and education projects reveals the quiet heart behind the superstar. And while Ed sings stories of love, friendship, and life, we step into the cinematic world where someone like Zendaya, already mentioned as a young beacon, shines even brighter when we consider her Emmy wins, her bold fashion choices, and her graceful advocacy for representation, proving that young Hollywood is not just about glamour, but about responsibility too. And alongside her stands Timothée Chalamet, whose artistry in films like Call Me by Your Name and Dune paints him as one of the defining actors of this era, and his fashion-forward approach combined with his humility makes him a role model for creativity and authenticity. And then our narrative takes us to the powerhouse that is Beyoncé once more. But this time we look closer at her partnership with Jay-Z, a union of two icons who together build not just music, but cultural impact through art, philanthropy, and business. Empires reminding us that when love and talent unite, the results can inspire generations. And Jay-Z himself, as a mogul turned philanthropist, shows how music can be a foundation for empowerment, especially when investing in criminal justice reform and education initiatives for underserved communities. And when we reflect on power couples, we cannot forget Barack and Michelle Obama, whose presence in the celebrity world extends beyond politics into cultural influence through books, speeches, Netflix productions, and global advocacy work, showing that leadership itself can evolve into stardom when rooted in compassion and authenticity. And the Obamas stand tall as figures who continue to inspire hope, resilience, and belief in a brighter tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, we glance at younger icons like Olivia Rodrigo, whose debut album turned her into a voice for a generation, weaving heartbreak and honesty into lyrics that young fans around the world related to instantly. And her rise from Disney Channel to Grammy-winning artist mirrors the journeys of many before her, but with a freshness that makes her truly unique. And her advocacy for women's rights and youth empowerment shows that even at the beginning of stardom, one can choose to use their platform for change. And as we think of platforms used for impact, we are reminded of Angelina Jolie, whose humanitarian work across decades, from refugee advocacy to education and women's rights, remains one of the most profound examples of celebrity influence transcending entertainment. And yet her acting achievements also continue to captivate, proving that passion and purpose can walk hand in hand. And standing alongside Jolie in this league of icons is Leonardo DiCaprio, whose career as one of Hollywood's most beloved actors is equaled only by his relentless fight against climate change, and his foundation has supported countless environmental projects, making him one of the leading voices in the intersection of fame and global responsibility. And from climate advocacy to fashion innovation, the name that shines brightly is Kim Kardashian, who began her career in reality television and transformed it into a business empire stretching across beauty, fashion, and law reform initiatives. And her work in advocating for criminal justice reform, especially for those unfairly incarcerated, demonstrates that reinvention and influence can lead to unexpected yet powerful contributions to society. And speaking of reinvention, we think of Kylie Jenner, who became the youngest self-made billionaire through her cosmetics empire, showing that the new era of celebrity blends entrepreneurship with artistry and fan engagement. And while Kylie builds her brand, her sister Kendall Jenner dominates the modeling world, bringing a fresh face to fashion houses while balancing the spotlight of fame with the art of high fashion. And this family's story illustrates how celebrities can evolve into business leaders, shaping culture beyond entertainment. And as fashion